welcome to Dink Smallwood. I'm Chaotic Law and this is a new LP. A new LP of a game that is several years old. And it came out quite a long time ago. I don't have all the details with me, but initially this was a commercial title, and then it went free, I believe around the early 2000s. Anyway, in this particular version is a HD remake, or at least a HD port for the newer computers. After all, the golden age of 256 colours and 640 by 480 resolution was a pretty old thing and no one wants to see that anymore. Hence this. This is version 1.08 or 1.09 I believe, the previous version being the last one that was before this version. The old version contains a whole bunch of new stuff that didn't really make it into this particular download, and since I transferred the hard disk out of my MacBook, of which I was previously writing the text LP, which is now cancelled, I'm doing this instead to make up for it. So yeah, you have your options, your about, your add-on quests, you load and continue and new, and fire that animates like 3 frames and occasionally gets rid of the fade effect at the bottom of the screen. I don't have a problem with that. Let's start a new game. So of course the dialogue auto progresses if you want to actually see everything go. And a new thing, quick tips. I already know how to play this game. And I ate something without even thinking. More quick tips. Speed mode, saving your game, auto state save, manual state save. Yes, this thing goes on a lot about saving. Also you can hit things, as you would know. So, let's talk about pig feeding. Of course we're going to talk about pig feeding, yes. Also our dad, who is not present, and we only have two double-sized beds. And of course, our father was merely a farmer, so doesn't really set the bar really high for us, as far as anything is concerned. So by hitting enter you bring up this screen, which is the inventory, and you can pick an item to use. I'm not sure if this was in the old version or not, but you can, upon selecting items with the control key, which is your attack key, you automatically close the window. I'm not sure if that was a feature in the old version or not. So yeah, here are the pigs. They have funny shadows. You can hit them for damage. They have some amount of health somewhere. Here's a number which is not told to you, and the same goes for your life in the UI that is constantly down here. So before I kill all these pigs, let's actually feed them. I'm pretty sure our mother would not approve. And here is Milder. Milder Flatstomp, I believe is his full name. And he is kind of a jerk, really. Although it's kind of in the light-hearted sense. Not really any kind of malicious intent behind it, really. Dink likes to emphasize the hate he has for the guy. But yeah, we can feed the pigs some more. But this is one of the few key items that basically gets thrown away after this point. You no longer need it. Such as you no longer need these pigs. You can leave quite a mess, but it all disappears by the time you turn back here anyway. So long as you don't kill any of them, or at least so long as you don't kill any of the pigs, the same amount of pigs will remain. Otherwise you'll gradually lose them all. I suppose I can take a look around. Don't have to talk to our mom after that. You know, I had to check back and forth to make sure if any of the dialogue was really all that different. And to be honest, I'm not really all that sure. I'm pretty sure most of this dialogue is the same for the most part. We don't really know much about the family aside from the fact that this guy is missing someone and also has a choice for Libby, whoever she may be. Or at least it sounds like a she. Also, there's monsters in the field. So, let's take care of some problems. Anything can be solved with violence, right? I do believe this is the point where I stopped the text LP, because this thing took way longer than it needed to be. So yeah, Mr. Smarstein's farm is out to the west somewhere. Not very helpful. We don't exactly have a map, so we can't say that. And he also can't see anything, but we can hit these barrels. They just break open at one punch. He's pretty strong. All the barrels are very poorly done. Unfortunately, punching our town guard does nothing to get us outside. And our village is pretty small, there's just like the 3 of us. At least the 3 homes. And also her, whoever she is. I forget her name. Oh, it's Chalice. We can flirt with her. Which is all pretty silly. And we get referred to by our last name, which can be an insult, and there's the autosave thing floating by, change in the new version. Asking about gossip. The latest word in our very little town. Pirates in Port Town? That sounds interesting. Except I have no idea if you actually get to interact with any of it. Always carrying flowers and sliding about on the ground. And we learn that Milda has applied to the Royal Guard. And everyone seems to think that he's not really all that great of a guy, but flirting. Right. Of course you can hit her. But I'm not gonna go through the liberty of doing that because we'll probably lose her forever. Over here is this mysterious save machine which has a bunch of planks of wood pieces. And also you can save your game. Yeah, you can save your game. It doesn't make sense, but you can save your game. That being said, there's also autosave options in the escape menu. So, I guess it's a change up from what it used to be, where you literally had nothing except to save at those machines. So this is Ethel, an old lady. And apparently a duck is missing. Of course we can say a bunch of things, including where she can stick quackers. I think I will agree. I'm pretty sure Dink would like to do his quest. And hence his kind of over-the-top response. Apparently the bed smells kind of funny. And apparently all that Ethel has is alcohol. And of course, he'd make a name joke on that. Dink is supposed to say something about trying to find the quackers. We'll see in a moment, I guess. There we go. There's that duck. Tell the duck to go home. Gotta get home to Ethel. And he goes quack. So we must yell at her instead. Not even I run away from home, says Dink. Of course, the duck's response is bite me. But fine, I'll go home. Interesting personality you've got there. A sort of mini-quest. Of course, all you get is a thanks message and you really can't speak to Ethel after that. So let's just leave her for the moment and figure out what else we must do by returning to our mother, of course. You can't really interact with the well here. I assume it has some importance, but haven't been able to figure it out. Because it's all part of the scenery. Oh man. She is walking slowly. And so apparently we're supposed to go out to the woods to get some oak tree nuts. We better do that now then, before it gets dark and the guard has mysteriously disappeared. Dink probably hasn't ventured outside his village all that much. I'm really not sure what he's supposed to be aside from the wizard's hat. I mean, maybe a magician, but he's really not all that tall. Makes me wonder what kind of being the magician is supposed to be. And of course, instead of just being obtuse about where to find this magician, Dink gets directions. Okay, so probably not a human. Probably. Anyway, let's just take a look. Ah, south to Stonebrook Village. So that's the village's name. Of course I knew that. What else would I have to know? So since we've wandered out into the wilderness, might as well tell you about the combat. It's real time, you punch, you get a hitbox to hit other enemies, which have their own hitbox. And this is one of many creatures in these villages, of which course the combat can get quite bloody. Unfortunately, you know, lack of artists means that you only have a few enemies in this game. And we'll probably see some slightly faster moving ones later down the track. Now, what to do? Okay. Getting stonewalled by our volume. Might as well go back this way then. I guess that might be the tree. It looks different from all the others. And I think the MIDI is partly broken because normally you actually hear a very high screech of the violin, MIDI instruments aside. So it happens to be an oak tree, one of the only oak trees in this game. And there's also a town to the south, if only Dink could swim, or build a bridge, or anything. Oh well. Until you just hit the tree down, and you might hear the punch sounds overlap for some reason. I have no idea why that is. That should be more than enough. I picked up a nut! And that was all Dink said. And yeah. So you can just eat one, and grab another one. Thing about them is, you can only hold one in your inventory space at any one time. And you lose the ability to punch afterwards. So yeah, not really much help. So let's head back to town, and see how our mom is going. Oh, Lina. Not sure who she is, or Lena. And of course, he's doing just as badly a flirt as Dink does. And of course, Dink just stands there, waiting while the thing goes on. And they slide away. Because moving left to right, up and down, probably would take quite a bit of effort to get into the game. Hence why Dink is pretty much the only person that can move in all 8 directions. So, might as well save. Whoop. And with that, I think might be a good time to stop it off. So next time we'll get back to our mother and see what happens next. Pretty sure I get to go out and beat up some monsters in a bit. But until then, take care.